Hi everyone, it's Marissa Lachlan from Joanne's Place here, and you're listening to the Wellness on Purpose podcast. There is no linear path along one's wellness journey, and it is very easy to get caught up in the latest health trends found on social media, which tend to redirect our wellness journeys. Things like, what's the difference between clean and dirty eating? How should I reduce my stress? How do I know if I'm regular? How much sleep should I be getting? What even is cortisol? And do I need to be taking a multivitamin? There is so much information being released in the wellness industry on and offline, and it can be very challenging to not jump on every bandwagon we read about. Here at the Wellness on Purpose podcast, our intention is to connect with experts in our community to inspire and educate you to take the next impactful and realistic step in your journey to live wellness on purpose now and for future generations. Hey guys, welcome back to episode number 10 of the Wellness on Purpose podcast. On today's episode, we're talking to Dana Marshall and Susan Joyce from Healthy Foundation's Naturopathic Clinic here in Peterborough. On this episode, we're going to dive deep into what it actually means to work with a naturopath. I'm talking about different health concerns that they may be able to help you with, different tests that they run in their clinical practice, different vitamins and minerals that they take and recommend on a regular basis, and how important it is for you to feel your best self. One of the most impactful pieces of this podcast episode is consistency. One of these ladies tell us that health doesn't come from what you're doing occasionally in life. It comes from what you're doing consistently. So if that resonates with you, you can relate to that. Tune in, listen to the rest of this podcast, learn about these two wonderful ladies and how you can make the transition away from drinking the Kool-Aid to drinking the kombucha. Thank you, ladies, so much for being on the podcast today. I can't wait to share with our community who you are, what your passion is, and how you can help them.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Thanks, we're excited.
So we'll just jump right in. Whoever wants to start first, just tell me maybe a little bit, or listeners, a little bit about yourself, who you are, your wellness journey, and yeah.
Hi, I'm Dana, and I'm originally from a small town outside of Godrich, so I'm not originally from Peterborough, but started my practice here with Susan about 12 years ago. I have two awesome, cute, little amazing boys, Colby and Kessler, who are officially both in school now, so that's been a big change for us this year. An awesome husband, super ambitious, very busy these days. What else? I love summer, sunshine. Fishing with my boys. In the past year, I started a new kind of workout program that's completely different to everything that I've ever done throughout my life and my kind of exercise journey. And so that's been really great for me.
What kind of exercise is this?
It's hybrid based, which we were talking about before. So just that high impact, high weight, something very different than the cardio that I've always done, and seems to be really working well with my body.
Good.
I enjoy cooking. Susan enjoys cooking too, but I love coffee. I love occasional good coffee. And sleep. Sleep is a big thing. And something exciting about Susan and I is that we're both really obsessed with cookbooks.
Nice.
It's a slight obsession.
We kind of have to hide them when they come into our house because we have so many that our husbands are in awe that we need another one.
Yes.
You're like, another vegan cookbook?
Yes.
How many do you need?
Quite amazed by what we have all spectrums.
Yes.
I feel like that's
vegan.
Yeah. With practice, we need to be able to, of course, appeal to anyone's diet, and
absolutely.
So we've tried numerous things, and
and we share lots of recipes, so that's something that we've always enjoyed and been excited about.
That's awesome.
Good. And so I've been practicing a little bit longer than Dana, so I guess maybe closer to 15 years. Also grew up in a small town fairly close to here, near Coburg. Went to Queen's University, met my husband there, who actually is from Peterborough, and so that's sort of how we over time ended up back in this, or I came here and he ended up back here. We have two little girls, so we're in the opposite world to Dana's boys, so we compare stories, and sometimes they're very, very different.
Very different.
That's a big balance.
Big difference, yes. But they're probably going to marry each other, so it'll be good. And so Lucy and Maggie, they're in grade 4 and grade 1, so pretty settled into school, and that's pretty easy right now. Also, I've always been into exercise. I'm pretty kind of have attention deficit with exercise, so I'm constantly trying something new or finding a new avenue I want to try. Always been into running. I did my first 10K this year, which was fun. I have no desire to do a half or a full.
10's enough.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
It's perfect. I actually prefer 5.
Yeah.
Fast, efficient. Right now I'm also doing like bar and Pilates, which I'm quite enjoying. So yeah, just sort of finding sort of my niche, which will change in a few months. So I guess sort of we kind of feel like our wellness passions really change and evolve sort of as our family and our lives, evolve. So before children, even in practice, we found we would sort of attract naturally just maybe different people than we attracted when we were pregnant and when we were, post-children, when we were getting more into pregnancy and fertility and what we would wish to feed, our little ones. We were super passionate to share that with others as they were starting to feed their little ones. So it's really interesting to see over the years where we start and what evolves, and that we still love working with that, but now we're also seeing, naturally as hormones are changing, probably for me because I'm a little titch older than Dana, that just over time what that will sort of start to evolve into, and how our practice just is sort of evolving that way, which is pretty neat.
Yeah, that's awesome. Did you both always know that you wanted to be a naturopath, or before you went to naturopathic school of medicine, was there another career that you were both going down, obviously separately, but before you ended up as an ND?
I always knew I wanted to work in some kind of health-related field, and I didn't actually know naturopathic medicine existed until third year university. So I was scrambling. I felt the pressure. What do I want to be? I just did a Bachelor of Health Sciences, so it was kind of the basic health sciences, but I want to be a chiropractor. I want to learn acupuncture. I want to learn holistic nutrition. I kind of wanted to do it all. And somebody one day just said, why don't you be a naturopathic doctor? And I said, what is that? So I looked online and looked at the accreditation in Canada, and as soon as I kind of learned about all the modalities, I just knew that that's exactly what I wanted to do. And
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And mine is so similar. Same thing at university. Someone had mentioned that, and literally I think that weekend I went home with a printout from the school and said to my parents, this is what I'm doing next. And and I think back, so in like high school I did my co-op at the hospital with a dietitian, and so I sort of knew that, but I knew that wasn't exactly quite what I wanted to do, but something in that genre. And same with the exercise, and did a lot of sports, and so I kind of knew similar that there was something, and I was already in life sciences and biology, so I was sort of in that path as well, just didn't know where that was going to lead, and then alas it came. So same thing. It just, once I sort of knew that existed out there, it was a never looking back sort of thing.
So you mentioned that over the years in practice, your focus kind of evolves around where you are in your stage of life, pre-pregnancy, while you're pregnant, post. Is there an area that you would focus on now more in practice? Do you see a variety of different patients?
That we see a wide range of people, and also a wide range of different ailments and illnesses. But I think a huge part of our practice focuses around fertility and different hormonal imbalances and nutrition and general health.
And I think I don't know if naturopathic medicine in general in the beginning tends to be attracted to females to start.
Yes.
And then they will bring their children often, or their husbands. So it's, not that we certainly don't treat males, because we do. And we're finding a lot more sort of males in their 30s are sort of really initiating, and we're seeing this shift, whereas even 10 years ago, you weren't really getting that as much. So I would say it's often the women first, and women, they almost all just have some sort of hormonal, whether it's thyroid, or some endocrine, thyroid, whether it's ovarian function, adrenals, something.
Yeah.
So they're sort of a big thing we are always seeing. But within that, as we know, any person, whether they have menstrual cramps, they have a whole host of other things happening. So we often, it might be hormonal stuff that brings them in, but then we are treating their digestion, we see a lot of autoimmunity, it's huge, a lot of chronic illness, and tons of digestion, and all that is associated with that, no question, is huge.
Mood shifts, anxiety, depression, a lot of that.
So it's really a
that
great
tends
thing.
to be.
It's all really linked together too, right?
Yeah.
Would you say that there's something either in society or dietary habits or lifestyle habits that you feel is a contributing factor to so many infertility issues that women are dealing with?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I think fertility is so multifactorial.
Yeah.
I think, and it can come from, we kind of look at the endocrine system as sort of a triad. So your adrenals, your thyroid, your ovaries. And if there's an imbalance in any of those, it will affect the others.
Yeah.
So I think we're always exploring each of those three, plus lifestyle and diet and nutrition and exercise and stress and,
for sure.
and their relationship and, so many things that impact. And I feel like we always talk about the female, whereas 50% is the male.
Yeah,
Yet males
absolutely.
don't often always come, for fertility. So sort of we feel like we're kind of helping half of the concern, but not always the other. So males listening, you should also be coming to help address that.
We
for
always
sure.
ask. We always ask either about the male half or ask them to come in and sit in either on a visit or come in themselves, which is really important.
Because I think the infertility in males, the numbers are really rising, right? And I don't know if that's like a global, across the board, or it's just that's becoming more, awareness around it, I guess, seeing your ND or even your MD about infertility in males as well too. So.
Well, and from a cellular level, so reproductive cells produce at an extremely quick rate relative to other cells. And due to so much exposure in our environments and etc., there's much more risk of something going wrong along the cycle.
Right.
So whether you look to the whole DNA or just everything, but there's so much more time and opportunity for things to not go well. So even working on kind of on that cellular level to really improve sperm health, oocyte or egg health, things like that are super important, and I think often overlooked. Even when people get to IVF, etc., they're doing a lot of hormones there to kind of control their cycle, but we can really help to optimize what their body still is making to improve the outcome of that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
not necessarily like a preventative measure, but really kind of in the sense before you have to get to that point, right?
Totally.
Yes.
We would love everyone to come 6 months before trying to get pregnant.
Yes.
Is an ideal world.
At least,
Yes.
Because how long before a couple's ideally wanted to get pregnant, like what would you say is a good time to start evaluating your health and your daily habits and nutrition before you get to that point?
I feel like in a perfect world that even looking at a year out, being able to track cycles and look at environmental exposure is something like detoxification important and necessary to do before leading into that, because that's something you would want to do
Getting
months and months.
Birth control pills.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Early.
Yeah. So there's so much leading up to it before one starts trying, and we love working with those individuals that come in and say, I'm thinking about, in a year's time.
Yeah.
Just gives you an opportunity to set the tone and establish some good lifestyle habits and behaviors much earlier, instead of trying to balance and fix something or support something in the moment. Right. Even from a mental, emotional stress level, that can really take the stress off a couple. Thinking about it in a different aspect instead of trying to address it at that moment.
Absolutely.
When people are actively trying to conceive.
Because then the urgency takes over something else than the
more
other.
stress, and that's just a huge contributing factor too, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
For sure.
Would you say that there is a myth in your practice as a naturopathic doctor, or even just in the sense of fertility, like if we want to focus on that or any aspect of your practice, do you think that there is a myth that our listeners could really benefit from hearing?
One of the big things that we see and hear all the time is that if you're not feeling well and you're not your best self, that you just need to settle or accept it, or that's how it is. You know, I've heard it twice actually today already.
You're
You
getting
know,
older.
something you're getting older. Yeah, it doesn't have to be just you're getting older, or well, you have migraines, so you're just going to have to live with them, right? So, you know, we all know those people who are in their 80s that feel amazing and look fantastic, and so it doesn't have to be as simple as you're getting older or that you need to settle. And another big thing is, if we're looking at, you know, results, we have so many people who come in and say, well, my blood tests that the doctor did were normal. We get it all the time, and just because you're within those reference ranges and your results are normal doesn't mean that you're still not experiencing signs and symptoms in your body's trying to tell you something. So I think that we do a really good job with trying to really listen to people and how they're feeling, and digging a little deeper into what could be going on and what could be causing those signs and symptoms, because a lot of the times people are normal reference ranges and they still don't feel well. So it doesn't have to be like that. We look more at kind of like optimal thriving health instead of just being normal.
Yeah, for sure.
And even I was going to say, with blood testing, those reference ranges are of course there for reasons, and so many medical doctors don't have a lot of time in their practice to review all the blood tests unless they're red flagged, whereas we often have more time with the patient. And so if your reference range is 10 to 20 and you're at 11, and you know, signs and symptoms if you're 9 are being super fatigued, etc., there's not much difference between 9 and 11.
Right.
But yet it wouldn't be flagged, but we can then, like Dana was saying, work to optimize that level to get ideally that person feeling a lot better with things like iron and B12 and tons of those types of things. So so I think we have the advantage often of time and being able to explore things a little more in depth and that sort of thing to again get them optimal health, as opposed to just
feeling okay, right?
Exactly.
And not everyone really fits into those normal parameters or those reference ranges. So what we've really found with years of practice is that, you know, this might be the reference range, but you're feeling your best self at, you know, greater than 600 for your B12 or something, right? So there's lots of different, it's based on what your body feels best with.
Yeah. And unfortunately, not all doctors, I mean, some will, but not all doctors really do take into all the other considerations that happen when testing those, right?
Yeah.
So as naturopathic doctors, you are able to order those blood tests for people. You guys have the ability to do that?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah, we do.
Is there a lot? Yeah. Is there any other common tests that you guys would run with some of your patients that you see a lot in, whether it is hormonal or adrenal or whatever that might be?
So I'm just going to preface by saying that we do run a lot of blood tests, like typically through Life Labs, who we're affiliated with. It's not covered by OHIP, so the person does either pay through their insurance companies or out of pocket that way, but we do quite a bit of extensive blood work for people. We have a few favorite tests that we do. We do a lot of food sensitivity testing, so looking at the IgG blood panels, which can give us a good idea of maybe what foods people are a little bit more sensitive or intolerant to. And you know, it's a really great, sometimes it paints a really good picture for people who are a little resistant to changing their diet, so it gives us a good idea of helping support digestive health and guiding them in which foods may be more desirable for their systems.
And sometimes, even though we might know clearly through some of their symptoms what they probably would do well to minimize in their diet, some people just need to see that from a blood draw, you know, concrete, what is happening. Visual. So it can offer that, and not everyone needs it, but we have that tool. And also, just back with blood work, something we often will do is if people have sort of a basic panel done through the medical doctor for thyroid, for example, we do quite a bit of more extensive thyroid testing to sort of expand upon, again, if their level was normal but they're presenting with tons of symptoms, we might look further down the pathway of thyroid. We do a lot of vitamin D testing because it's one of the most researched vitamins probably at this point is the most researched vitamin with fantastic evidence, and yet its testing isn't covered by OHIP, which is crazy. So even the medical system isn't, even if your medical doctor orders it, you have to pay out of pocket. So hopefully that will change, because we see so many people low and needing so much. So
even in the middle of summer,
I
think that when people should be there at their highest or optimal level, and we have people coming in daily just flatlined deficient in vitamin D.
And I find with vitamin D, it's it's something that supports so many health concerns, but it's not like right away, whereas some people who are lower in iron, they're a little bit more fatigued, but vitamin D, you don't have a symptom that you're seeing right away, but it's essential for so many body functions, right?
And people feel so much better when they take it, but can't always explain what, just as a whole, they're noticing they're improved with so many things if they're deficient and they need it.
And sometimes they're so low that it takes a time or a long time to build them up to a good optimal level where they might start feeling better then.
It's not instant. And another test we do a ton of is it's a Dutch test, so it's a form of hormone testing that's using a dried urine, and as opposed to just looking at, like in blood work, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, which blood work has the disadvantage of being just a moment in time. Dutch test is done over a period of a day, so you can see more in depth what's happening. You can see the breakdown in metabolites of these hormones. You can see cortisol. Again, there's a certain trajectory that cortisol should take on throughout the day, and so we can see so much information, melatonin levels. Anyways, there's tons that can be determined with these tests, so it's a really good tool that we've been using.
And how the body uses it, so not just looking at the estrogen, progesterone, but how our bodies are breaking it down and what pathways we're breaking it down into. So even looking at preventative, your good versus bad estrogens and things like that. A lot of women have been using it as a good preventative tool for breast cancer awareness and whatnot. And a lot of information that we can find.
That's really helpful. So many things to talk about in your practice, which is amazing. But let's kind of change the gears a little bit and talk a little bit more about, that outside life, that balance, that home work life. So you mentioned you're both very active. Is there anything else in your wellness journey that you guys do on a daily basis that helps to support you along your wellness journey?
So, sort of like I mentioned, exercise is, I am a body that needs to sweat. So I've learned this about myself. I'm a much better person. I'm a much better mom, much better wife if I have sweating in my life. So that's a huge, huge part for me, is just making sure. And I literally will book, I'll finish by a certain time to make sure I can make it to a certain class, and I just prioritize that. I will squeeze people in where I can, but if that's sort of, to me, an appointment that I need to go to, because then I know I'm not as good a naturopathic doctor either if I'm not, clear-headed and all those good things. So, and Dan and I are both pretty focused on, again, like the basics of health. So we know, exercise is important, but we really think it is really, really important. And Dana has as well, the exercise component.
Well, exercise I think is key and usually left out of so many people's daily, or they're not prioritizing. But we go back and forth, and things are daily or changing all the time. But I think one of the big things for me was like sleep, and I didn't really, that light bulb didn't go off for me until I had children. And when you have the lack of sleep and how it impacted my immune system and my mood and my energy levels, and that all plays such a huge role in your daily health. And so a lot of things had to change for me, and in order to prioritize sleep. And so again, it's those basics, those foundations of health that people come in and we can tell them, and they're like, yeah, I know that. Everybody knows it, but it's a matter of finding those priorities for you and what your body really needs and at that moment. And it can be ever changing. So in terms of different demands, what we needed, or when we were going through pregnancy versus nursing our children versus post babies, it's ever changing, and it's always keeping up with that and figuring out in that moment what your body needs, what's a priority. Has always been really listening.
And same with diet. I mean, it's constantly, we don't feel there's a certain diet for everyone. I think it's so dependent on, again, their needs, their type, their stress, their, goals. So much it plays a different part in that decision. Same with vitamins and supplements. And that sometimes will come into doing testing to determine that. Yeah. But I would say there's not something that, I'm always taking. I feel like it's sort of an ebb and flow with what I would take from a supplement point of view, based on what I'm needing, based on my stress, based on
the seasons.
Yeah. So, and some people, and myself included, don't love to be taking a ton of things. So then I want to prioritize what I really need at that time. What's going to give me the best benefit? What's going to give our patients the best benefit at that time as well? So yeah.
And I think it's really good to be mindful of that there are cycles, there are different seasons, even more than just our 4 seasons of just moving through that change and not being stagnant and doing the same repetitive thing day in and day out, because you could be doing all the right things and be so bored of it and not have that outcome that you're really looking for,
or
right?
benefit. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's why even when people are feeling well, we have our patients check in with us, whether it's once a season or every 8 weeks, just to check in and see how are things going, have things shifted in your life, and where are you at to kind of create that support along the way for them. Because awesome. It's ever changing.
And during those changes, you might think that you're handling it really well and you've got it all in line, everything flows, but it's always good to know that you have that additional support if you don't, or if you just need someone there, right?
And it's really easy to fall off the wagon with things, right? Whether it's one bad weekend or somebody's fallen ill in the house, then that can just set the tone for disaster sometimes. So really just being able to check in, reestablish those good daily habits and daily routines is really important.
Yeah, for sure. Who would you ladies say are your biggest wellness inspirations?
So we're as we're obsessed with cookbooks. And so we both really passionately love Danielle Walker. So so she wrote The Against All Grain was her original book. She has since written 4 in total, and she just has such an awesome story. She so she was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. Was it Crohn's? I want to say ulcerative colitis is what I'm going to. Yes. Was very, very ill, and then made these really difficult changes to her lifestyle, to her diet, and then has since brought her family into that, and now has this huge following of people that she's helping probably daily with her books and her recipes and her motivation. And it's pretty, I think she's just pretty awesome to see what she has created through the power of just making some changes in her some hard changes, but she did it, and now it's become sort of her norm. That's become her new balance point, right? So
she's also extremely humble. Like, she's just so graceful all the time. Social media, interviews, she's just such a lovely presence for sure.
And always so put together.
I
always love
love what
but she's wearing, and
doesn't always fake it though.
No.
Like she is put together, but also she falls apart a bit sometimes too on it. She's emotional. I know, but I do like all of her clothes.
Good style, good recipes.
She's got it all.
I know it's going to sound a little cheesy to say, but I do think that we kind of, Susan is very inspirational to me. Like, I think that we feed off of each other, but even looking kind of at how we came together. Susan was practicing in Peterborough, and I was doing, in my 4th year residency, I was able to do a preceptorship, and so I came up to Peterborough, never being in Peterborough before, and followed Susan for a semester and got to know her patients and really looked up to her that way, right? So getting to
and I was pregnant. So
yes.
You're like, I'm lining this up so well.
Yes. Well, Dana just knew because I was sick. And
and so it was great to just kind of walk into a role where I was able to follow someone that I really admired and was able to, we really meshed. We have very similar philosophies about naturopathic medicine and goals and ideas. And so ever since then, it's just we're always able to, talk about patients together, or whether it's this recipe or what did you learn this weekend? So we're always fueling and feeding off of each other and learning new things and motivating each other daily, and whether it's in business or in family and life. So it's been a good balance that way.
That's amazing. That's so great to hear that.
Yeah.
Especially because I find when when you work in such a small group of women, is it just women that work in
Yes.
you too, and then
Yes.
there's your administrative assistant.
Yes.
Sometimes you're like, well, you're either saying the same thing or you can be around that person for too long. So sometimes it doesn't work out that way, but it's so good that you guys are able to feed off each other and support each other that way too.
Yeah, it's so helpful for all of that, and to have, it's funny because I'll come in and say something about one of my children that I just can't figure something out, and Dana will say, did you think of this? And it's something I would think about for other people, but not for myself. And, it's so helpful, and also she just knows my family so well. So it's such a good, we can kind of sometimes shut our minds off for ourselves and have someone else, which you need.
Yeah.
You need to be able to do that for sure.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. So I know that you both shop at Joanne's Place. I see you pop in there. It's always nice to catch up. But is there anything in Joanne's Place that you guys feel that's really helped you along your wellness journey to make you feel good in nourishment, mind, body, soul, whatever that might be?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, lots. But so I'd say one of the main things personally, but also we recommend it to so many patients, would be castor oil. We love castor oil.
Love castor oil.
Yeah, we really do. And so there's many ways to use it, but we recommend it usually topically. So almost like a castor oil pack. So you would put the castor oil on a bit of flannel and then over top of abdomen / uterus area. So whole abdomen area. And, we say minimum 20 to 30 minutes, but people can leave it on for a whole, movie, overnight, whatever they wish. It's a great detoxifier, so it helps support liver. It will help reduce the load of white blood cells, which can decrease inflammation. So even if someone has a swollen joint or knee or injury, you can actually even wrap it with the tensor bandage on that area for great reduction in pain and inflammation. Really great for a lot of female health concerns, fibroids, menstrual cramps, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of people use it almost as a face kind of wash, cleanser type thing. Anything else I'm forgetting?
No, I think you've covered.
Castor oil is literally magic.
It's
I
magic.
too am obsessed with it.
It's so magical.
It is the things that it has done for me. I'm like, how is this even available to buy on the shelf? It is so great. I've used it for cystic acne.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I've used it for actually cysts, like bringing them to the surface.
Totally.
Amazing.
It's really
Everybody needs
Great.
it.
I know, that's
They
what we
do.
say.
Lip chap, like in the winter, it's such a it softens the skin. It's amazing.
Yes.
It's very
I'm
true.
so glad that you love castor oil as much as
We're really
me.
obsessed with castor oil. But we are particular about the kind. Like
Yes.
we don't go to Shoppers Drug Mart and get it. And
No.
no offense to Shoppers Drug Mart, they have many great things. But
Yeah.
because it needs to be a quality, or we've seen rashes and things like that. So you do need to have a good extraction, which you guys have. So
100% pure, because I've seen it be not just castor oil in it as well. So
and you have to be mindful.
Yeah.
And you don't need much. Like a little goes a long way with it, right?
Yeah.
So
and it's not very expensive either,
No.
which is really great.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we do show. I feel like when I'm telling people about castor oil packs, I tend to get really excited about it, and they're like, "Oh!" And then they come back, and then they understand when they feel so good after with it.
They're like, "That's all I had to do.
Yeah.
Just put it on there with a little piece of flannel." And
Oh yeah. We also love topical magnesium spray. Yeah, and I know what I know there's a few different ones.
Yep.
But we love magnesium. You love magnesium.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those just up there with castor oil. But I do find myself sending people to Joanne's all the time for it. A lot of it we're prescribing for like that MSK, like that muscle tension. And sometimes just oral magnesium just doesn't touch it. So getting that extra targeted relief, whether it's like an upper trap or hamstrings or calf muscles, I find it can be really, really beneficial. Or for the person who really is sensitive and can't tolerate oral magnesium, right? We all have, there's those patients that just, it's too much for them. So I love that.
So do you prefer it in the spray, the gel, the cream? Does it matter?
No, I don't think it really matters. No, and I think it's more, for me, I like the spray.
Convenience.
Yes, for sure. Just like spray it on there, or Kessler, can you spray that on there for me? Or
sometimes.
Exactly. Yeah, I haven't tried the gel, so I don't know for sure yet, but yeah, I think that they're all any type of topical magnesium. I know some people could feel like a little bit of burning or something if they put too much on too quickly or too often. So I always tell people to start kind of low and slow and work up with that. But
do you have a preference?
I like them all.
Yeah.
I do like the spray. I find with the gel sometimes it can be just stickier. It takes a little bit longer. I mean, that kind of just forces you to sit there, which is really nice. Right. So some people do need that.
Slow down.
But I also love the spray. It's my favorite way of using it too.
Yeah.
And it works so quickly. Like you can really, I mean, it's not like instantaneously you feel like $1 million walking and doing anything. But I find with muscle fatigue, especially after a workout, really, really helps with it as well.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a good one.
And for those men that have a lot of, I shouldn't say just men, but men and women, but a lot of our male patients that come in that have those kind of aches and pains and stuff like that, and just, that they could use a lot more magnesium, just giving that to them is something easy and with quick relief. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So you ladies are stuck on an elevator. It's either stopped if you want to think of it that way, or you've got 20 flights with the people that are in there. What type of advice could you give, either like in any perspective, that can help someone just support their wellness journey a little bit further, or just even, inspire them to start looking at their health?
My first instinct is to say, if you're physically able, you should take the stairs. But then again, I'm on the elevator, so clearly I haven't been taking the stairs as well.
Yeah, it's tough, right? Because we're all at different stages of health, and we all have things that we can improve on in one form or another. So for a lot of people, like any type of change can seem daunting, right? But y'all need to start somewhere. So for the people who are really starting basic and just kind of stepping into it, it's really about just taking that first step. So whether it's one extra cup of coffee, or not coffee, one less cup of coffee and an extra cup of water a day, or forcing yourself to do like a 10-minute walk a day, or one positive thought every morning, just taking that first step is really important. And for the type of people who've kind of jumped on and they're on that bandwagon and that journey of health, it's really about consistency. Health doesn't come from what you do occasionally in life. It's what you're doing consistently. So keeping up and keeping motivated with that and changing things up so that you can stay motivated and stay consistent.
Yeah, consistency is really key. It's the missing puzzle piece that everybody looks for. Yeah. We want instant gratification of every change we possibly make the next day. And it really comes down to the consistency.
Yes.
And that's a big thing we talk to patients about, is that you won't necessarily see it in a day or a week. It's more so if we were to reflect back after even a year and look how far one has come and the changes they have made in all aspects of their life and what that looks like. And, Dana and I certainly, we haven't sipped the Kool-Aid, we sipped the kombucha, but we're fully in this, journey, but we still need constant reminders. And, I and my husband as well need to go to bed earlier. And I know this, there's, but I feel there's, consistency in so many other things. And so it's we all need reminders. We all, we have taken many first steps, but we have many more first steps in our health journey to take and to explore. So our goal, I think, with patients is to just guide them through that and keep them motivated and help them with their consistency and seeing those changes over time and improving optimal health.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's really the end goal, right? Optimal health, longevity, and feeling good during that time. Not just feeling okay, not just living day in and day out feeling
for sure
okay or fine, or it's that pep in the step. It's the energy. It's the happy to be here attitude,
Absolutely.
right?
For sure. Which exactly.
Awesome. Well, thank you, ladies, so much for joining us. I can't wait for any future endeavors with you guys as well, too. But we do appreciate you guys featuring yourselves on the Wellness on Purpose podcast. And we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in on today's episode with Dana and Susan from Healthy Foundation's Naturopathic Clinic here in Peterborough. I hope you guys are inspired, motivated, and ready to live your best self. As always, please like, review, subscribe, leave us a comment, share on social media, and stay tuned for our next episode of the Wellness on Purpose podcast coming soon.